What's up, fam? Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Tonight we are taking a look at a pair of really cool concept knives. I think they're both just slightly flawed from what I would like to see. We'll talk about that. Both are from the same designer. We're looking at two knives from Morgan Cohen's. We have the Shikari and the Hinterland. It is the Shikari button lock. So let's go ahead and get these boxes off screen and talk about the knives. We're going to start with the Shikari. So this is the base model, if you will. You have the micarta and 154 cm. Now these things do range all the way from this one, which is in the budget banger category of $83. And then they go all the way up to $430. Now, the $430 version isn't available, but it's like the full dress, Damascus, all that good stuff version. So, but without any further ado, let's jump into this knife and take a look here. So we do have a nice PVD coated, I believe that is an aluminum bolster, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, I'll correct it here. And then the green micarta. Now, this is a semi-polished micarta, and it is very, very slightly contoured, and we do have some chamfering there towards the edges. Looks like we have T8 and T6 pocket clip, or T8 T6 hardware. Of course, the infamous Kansept open pivot, so this thing just spins. You really need to get, again, I don't know why Kansept does this. They just need to start using a captive pivot. It's kind of ridiculous at this point, honestly. And then you have a lanyard loop, or excuse me, a lanyard hole there. Pretty nice pocket clip. It does work quite well. I didn't really have any issues going in and out of the pocket. And then I believe we have a G10 backspacer there as well. Steel liners, button lock, and then we have absolutely zero jimping on the flipper. Let's go ahead and flick this knife out. Now, this one does have a bit of a lazy action. I did want to try to clean it up. I think it's probably just got some gunk in it. But, of course, like I said, I don't have a finger bit, and I'm not going to sit here and try to struggle to deal with these pivots. So, taking a look at a clip point blade here. You got a really nice finger ramp there, typical Kansept branding. And then there you have the designer and blade model. Grind looks to be good. Let's take a look at that sharpening choil. Do have a good sharpening choil, and the plunge grind terminates fairly quickly, so everything looks good there. Let's take a look at her tip. We have a nice strong tip. Looks to be pretty much spot on. It might be favoring the show side just a hair, but looks to be pretty good. And yeah, let's go ahead and crack in here. So a really clean design with a fairly aggressive blade shape. Having this really nice clip point blade. The finger ramp or thumb ramp does work really well. Now, one thing I talked about with this one is, you know, where it kind of falls into that almost a knife that I would buy. They make a bolster lock version of this. And I know I would like that version 100 times more. The button lock here is done. It's done fine. It's done well. It's just not, I don't think it does this particular knife justice. I think this knife does need a bolster lock. It's got that simulated bolster there, and I think it does. I think it would benefit more from that. So I will probably take a look at one of those and see if it's one that I want to pick up. But as far as an overall design aesthetic, it's a beautiful design. Very, very functional design. Very comfortable in the hand. The micarta is done well. The inlays are nice and smooth, so no real issues there. Let's go ahead and take a look at our hardware. Pivot I know is good because, like I said, I tried to adjust it previously. And then all of our T6 hardware is done pretty well. Lots of screws on this knife because of the inlays and the pocket clip and everything. Or the overlays, excuse me. Button is really nice. It's almost perfectly flush when the blade is closed. And then in open, it is not like it's super protruding. Blade retention is done pretty well. So, I mean, even with this knife having a fairly lazy action, it is pretty snappy. especially if you use a light switch pull on it there. Does pretty good. Like I said, I think this thing could use a good clean and relube, but I'm not going to hold that against it. I believe I am fairly far down the list on the pass around for these knives. So outside of that, like I said, it is a very, very nicely done, very well designed blade. Like I said, that grip there is just, I mean, it just feels like it's wanting to put in some work. So really cool. Now the next one here is one that I was extremely excited by. Like just, I mean, and you guys can see why. I mean, it's obvious why I want this knife. It's just freaking gorgeous. The blue and the carbon, just chef's kiss. Smack the camera. It is phenomenal. I absolutely love the looks of this thing. Let's go ahead and jump into it, and then we'll talk about the bad. Again, really, really nice. The overlays here, or inlays, they're done really well. I love the milling lines here on the carbon, and then the anodized hardware looks phenomenal. You got some purple peeking through there. Open pillar construction, but you have the blue standoffs. Again, this beautiful bolster lock. You guys know I'm a sucker for a bolster lock. There's your issue. Really nice milled titanium pocket clip. Very well done. It is not deep carry, but that does not matter one bit to me. Let's go ahead and get this blade out here. So again, a really nice clip point blade. You have a fuller that is almost functional for deployment, and then you have a single-sided thumb shelf. S35 on this one, and again there you can see your designer and blade. This one does have a bit of a late plunge grind there, so sharpening tool isn't that great, but it is there nonetheless. Blade grind itself looks to be good. Tip is pretty spot on. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So, like I said, this knife right here is, it's one that's on my list. This is a knife that is on my list. It's kind of crazy to be on the Grail list. I mean, it's one of those knives I want it to be good so bad, because it's really well done. I mean, just, yeah, but there's two things, or even honestly, if one of these two things were changed, this knife would be a freaking home run for me. Now, there's people out there, and obviously this is a very popular knife. There are folks out there that are completely and utterly okay with the single mode of deployment, one thumb stud, no issues. There are folks that can probably reverse flick off of this fuller. But this fuller is so shallow and it's so rounded that I can't reverse flick off of it. And then there's no pocket clip over here. I mean pocket clip. There's no thumb stud over here. If they could find a way to make the thumb stud reversible, then you could just use that, no problem. Or if they put two thumb studs on it, or if they made the fuller a right angle to where you could just grab it and flick it. Like I said, you can do it. I mean, I'm sure there's other folks out there, and maybe if I trim my fingernail or something, yeah, maybe I'd be able to get it a little better. But I love this knife. But it's one there where I'm constantly going back and forth about whether or not to actually buy one, just because of I don't like only having a thumb stud. If I had both thumb studs, it'd be fine because I can reverse flick off the thumb stud. I do like a single deployment type. But in this case, having only one side of that is a little unusual. Now, I know that, the Chris Reeve does them, there's other, big companies that do that and big designers that do that. But like I said, in this instance, I think it's a miss. I love the bolster lock. You guys know I'm a huge, huge fan of bolster locks. The action is phenomenal. Ergonomics on this thing are freaking spot on. This thing feels great in the hand. It's a good size. It's not a terrible weight and everything. We'll talk about the size, the specs and all that on all these here in just a little bit. Now here's another part that kind of threw me off. Kansept is known for doing left-handed knives. They do left-handed knives quite often. There's no left-handed option on this. They don't make a left-handed knife. Now, again, it's neither here nor there because it's going to be the same problem. You can't, use a left-handed blade in this right-handed knife and have the thumb stud on the right side or on the other side. So it still leaves you with the same issue. But I was kind of thrown off by that. I didn't expect that with this one being such a single-handed knife. Now that being said, in the left hand, you can reverse flick this thing all day long. So I guess if you carry it left-handed, clip it to your back pocket, and I guess this is a more lefty-friendly than not. As far as just being able to reverse flick it. But it does that thumb disc or thumb shelf or whatever reverse flicks really well, which is why it's like, God, they missed the boat on this thing. But yeah, anyway, I'll quit carrying on about that. But these are really cool designs. I really like them. I especially really like the Hinterland. I am probably still going to pick one up. It's kind of gotten pushed a little bit further down the grail list for me. That being said, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to pick this specific one up. So a little bit of specs on the Shikari. You're looking at 3.35 on the blade, 7.78 overall, 4.05 ounces on this guy. Again, anywhere from $83 to $430, depending on how crazy you want to go. Like I said, they do offer a bolster lock version of this knife. On the Hinterland, you are just a little bit of larger knife overall, 3.58 inches overall, or blade, and then 8.24 overall, 4.6 ounces, a little bit heavier. Now this one has a little bit of a less of a range, but you're looking at 185 to 225, depending on, again, which options you want to go. This is a 185 knife here, so not a terrible price considering what you're getting there. The S35 with the tie and the carbon inlays and everything looks really great. It's a good looking knife. Like I said, it is priced at a very fair price point in my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. How do you feel about the single side there? Again, for me, it's just like, it's so close to being just an absolute grand slam, knocking it out the park. But then it's like, just stumbles right there at the last second. But anyway, y'all, I appreciate you as always. Please remember to smash the subscribe, smash that like, share it, do whatever you need to do. But most importantly, be kind, be humble, be EDC. Take care.